Those Vegas Golden Knights, man. I mean, as somebody who's completely neutral on them, like, personally, I don't hate them, and I certainly don't hate them as much as many fan bases and people in the hockey world that I've seen, but I do understand it. I mean, you've got people who've waited decades to see their team lift a Stanley Cup. Some of them have never had a Stanley Cup ever. Then you've got this hotshot team that enters the league with an expansion draft format that a lot of people were not happy about. They almost win the Stanley Cup in their first year. Then they just keep rolling out good teams. They didn't miss the playoffs for the first time in their history until their 5th year in the league. Then there was the whole Fleury saga. He gets picked in the expansion draft and is the first ever face of the franchise, takes them to that cup final and voices that he'd like to stay with Vegas, but instead was shipped off to a rebuilding Chicago team for a prospect who never played a game for Vegas and retired the year after being acquired by the team. And there was also this infamous photo posted by Fleury's agent. You throw in the fact that in free agency and trade, they always seem to be the ones to end up with the big fish, and they always seem to be able to keep most, if not all, the ones they want, leading to them being consistent playoff threats and delivering heartbreaking playoff losses to die-hard fan bases like Winnipeg, Colorado, and Edmonton. Right now, though, what most fans are most angry about is that Mark Stone was put on long-term injured reserve for a lacerated spleen a couple of months ago. The team then went and acquired Tomas Hertl at the trade deadline, one of the biggest fish available, while he was injured. Then a few days ago, it was announced that Tomas Hertl will be making his Vegas debut, and Mark Stone has started practicing again with Vegas just in time for the playoffs, where the salary cap vanishes. Now, some of you who are unfamiliar with this might just be saying, well, that's just a lucky coincidence. He's healed in time for the playoffs. And that's why so many hockey fans are upset about this. It's not the first time he and the team have done this. It's not even the second time. And let's be clear, Vegas is far from the only team to have done this. But because they're the most recent, and they're also the most recent Stanley Cup champions, that's why they've taken the brunt of this lately, and I've seen more than a couple people call them the Vegas Golden Cheaters. A lot of people are not happy that there's a very real possibility that Stone and Hertl could be available for Vegas in the playoffs. And yesterday, it got even more upsetting for those people. When that pretty redirect from Rantanen put the Avs up 3-0 against them yesterday, it very easily could have been lights out for Vegas. But then Barbashev wraps one around to make it 3-1, and then we get back-to-back 2 William Karlsson goals, who's still one of the best drunk Stanley Cup parade speeches ever. He's right up there with Ovi in 2018, and all of a sudden, the lead is blown and we're heading to overtime. Eichel squares up and rips one past Georgiev to complete the comeback with his 31st of the year. He's one of that team's cornerstone pieces, fitting that he scores the OT winner. Hold on a second, that was tipped in front by guess who? Mr. Trade Deadline Day Big Fish Tomas Hertl. One of the big fish actually, because Mark Stone went on LTIR and they were able to get Hertl and Noah Hannafin, who's been huge for this team in this playoff push. That's Hertl's second as a Golden Knight. 3 points in 4 games since joining the team. He slotted in perfectly as a second-line center, and it looks like he's going to be a pretty big help in the playoffs. It's gamesmanship, it's competition from them. They're trying to win another Stanley Cup. Like I said, I'm neutral. I will say though, it has been really entertaining to see the Golden Knights become one of the NHL's biggest quote-unquote villain teams. Especially if you're a fan of the Oilers, the Avs, the Jets, and the Canucks, I've noticed really don't seem to like the Golden Knights. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on them in the playoffs though. It's going to be entertaining TV. Give me your thoughts on them and the whole Mark Stone, Tomas Hertl stuff. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. We make videos like this every single day, trying to cover most, if not every team. I'll see you in the next one. You're awesome.